What a wicked thing to do to make me dream of you. No. Right, first thing off the bat is Halo is my favorite gaming franchise of all time. I've literally played it all of my life. I was born in 2000. It came out in 2001, so I cannot remember a time without Halo. I've read a bunch of the books. I'm pretty knowledgeable on the lore. I'm not like a lasso runner or anything like that, but I think my credentials stand up. But I think it's genuinely no secret that in the past 10 years, Halo has been in a less than ideal state, with Halo 4, which on its own merit, Halo 4 is actually an alright game. In the Halo universe, following Reach, it is fucking abysmal. But on its own, I think it's a decent game. Halo 5, the gameplay and the multiplayer was banging. It was good, but it wasn't what I want from a Halo game. If it was a standalone game, again, it would have been great. Even though the story is a bit meh, but that was just what FPS stories were in like 2015, 2016. Infinite was a nice return to form. It was nice, but it did not need the open world. That really ended up hurting the game for me. Halo is a linear, mission-based shooter. Did not need to be open world. At least make it a spin-off. If you can do an open world Halo game, don't make it a mainline one. I'm not going to talk about Halo Wars 2, but that's really kind of like the last we got of it. Until now, it's interesting to say the least that they've decided to go back to 1, but from a pure business and marketing standpoint, I can see why they've done it. Now, when they revealed the campaign involved, it did look good. It looked good, but there were some things that I and a few other people in the community did not like. Now, to begin with, was the HUD. The HUD was a bit busy with maps for triggers and buttons telling you RT to shoot, LT to throw grenades, Y to swap weapons. The other things to note is some of the art style, more the Forerunner structures, were a bit busy, quite shiny. They were missing kind of that matte, concrete, metal-y look that they had in the originals, and suffer with a bit of the over design 343 tends to stick with. That, along with the fact that they're reusing Infinite assets to do this remake. If you know anything about the Halo CE anniversary, came out way more than 10 years ago. Jesus, what, like 15 years ago? That's mad. They used Reach assets, so it was more like playing Halo Anniversary Reach Edition rather than, Halo CE. And I get they did it for continuity, but it really ended up taking a lot of the atmosphere out of CE, which is what made it great. Another thing is they have some grunts from the 343 art style era which do not fit in whatsoever. I get they're going for like the different versions of the grunts, like how the original one had some grunts with the curvy backpacks, but these ones just kind of stick out like a sore thumb, and just being like, we're going to acknowledge the games. We got a 343 grunt here, but it doesn't work. Especially in what I mainly want to talk about is the assault on the control room yesterday. That was revealed yesterday. So we opened with the classic cutscene where you make an aerial insertion underground, and there's a nice little like added bit where Echo 419 is saluting the grunt, and the grunt kind of gets scared. The grunt they chose to use for this cutscene was a 343 grunt. and it had a mask on. So it just looks goofy and like a mod, rather than using like an asset that they've remade for CE where it shows their eyes, shows their facial expression. That is a questionable choice, because they have grunts with faces. So if you want to show a spook grunt, at least like do a close-up of a grunt with eyes and expressions. But other than that, it looked great. I've got some notes actually that I've made that I can just go through. I've made a pros and cons list and other stuff of note. So I'm going to start with the pros. Let's start positive, and then we'll hit with some cons. So pro number one is that they've gone through Assault in the Control Room and they've changed the number of rooms. Now, this might not sound like a pro to some people, however, it is a pro, because, as you know, if you've played Halo CE for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, Assault in the Control Room does feel like a bit of a slog once you get about 15 minutes in and you're seeing the same types of rooms over and over and over and over again. This adds more of a variety, keeps it a bit more fresh, adds more arenas. One of note is there's one with a hard light bridge going over and a gap. That is such a subtle change, but it adds verticality to the room rather than it just being a flat room with a big wide box in the middle. It means that the gameplay is going to feel fresh, even just in that one room. That's really what you want to do in a remake for people that are coming back. Another thing with the level design is that they have more signposting, but in a way that is not too intrusive. However, they do kind of mess it up a little bit, but I'll talk about that in the cons. Speaking positively about it, and one thing that I noticed is on the, I'm just going to call it the twin bridges, is each side has its own symbol on the door, so you know which way you're facing and which way you're going. Because if you're a new player, it might be confusing. You might be like, oh, have I turned around? Where am I going? Without and you don't have Cortana in your ear or the game really shouting at you, telling you what to do. Another point is the vehicle sandbox seems very good. It seems great, with the addition of hijacking and also the ability to pilot wraiths. What I didn't see, or what I don't know, is whether you can hijack banshees, which will completely change the mission if you can. It really brings back that sandboxy feel, which is why Halo is great. But the ability to just hijack a ghost, jump in a warthog, take a wraith to the end of the mission, have the scorpion, hijack a banshee, you can really bust a level wide open with this, and the potential is great. I'm sure speedrunners will find a way to hijack banshees and fly them through the level completely. It's really up to you, the pace of the level, and the vehicle sandbox really highlights that, because you can go through it super sluggish with the scorpion, you can sit back with the wraith and mortar stuff, or you can just blitz through it with the warthog, ghost or banshee and really just explore the level. I'm sure they've hidden some skulls up high. If you can hijack a banshee, that'll be quite interesting. To go a bit further into it, the scorpion looks to be a perfect blend between Reach and the CE scorpion, in the fact that the reticle is there and it seems to take a minute to like load around and fire. I think they've reduced the time, because in CE, Jesus Christ, it was like run round every like 5 or 6 seconds. But the reticle is there, and I really like that because it really reminds you of the roots of the game and the fact that they were looking at it and not making this to be a replacement, but more a bit of an homage and a soft reboot to the Halo Studios franchise of games moving forward. One thing to note is that turret of the Scorpion is a manned turret on the front. It's not something that was on the gun in the original games in the first two. So I think the reason why they do that really is because this is a perfect chance to set up continuity between the games. Something that Halo CE and Halo 3, for example, were lacking. Not continuity story-wise, but in the way that game mechanics work and the way that Scorpions are the way that Wraiths are designed. I think they want that continuity with the vehicles, with the weapons, hence why we can see battle rifles on CE as well. I will say most of the game, a solid 70 to 75% of the game, in my opinion, looks perfect. It looks great. There are some questionable design choices. Like I said, the 343 guns and the little screen on the Needler is a bit dumb, a bit redundant, and I don't think the game really needs that in it, because you can tell how much is left in the Needler by looking at the fucking needles in the top of the damn gun. Other things of note that they've changed, there's no Sergeant Johnson in this mission that I could find. I might have to go back and rewatch it, but I don't think there's Sergeant Johnson in this mission. And is that because they don't want him to die repeatedly like he does in CE? But surely they could have just made him like an unkillable NPC like he is in the other games. The choice to not have him in it, or maybe not die, I can't speak fully because I haven't played the game, but if he is invincible, for me, I completely understand why they've done it for the continuity's sake. However, it was great just watching Sergeant Johnson getting blown up in like 4 different missions and always coming back and always surviving. Like, that fucker you could not kill. So I think they've lost a bit of the charm with that. I can take it or leave it, I guess. It's not like game breaking for me. The central discussion really is going to be in the cons of the game, unfortunately, but it will be. And I do have a few myself. Watching Assault in the Control Room, there is one major flaw, in my opinion, and that is the bridge in front of the control room itself. So in CE, there's a little land bridge with one Banshee on it and a Red Elite that will run to it, get in it and fly around and shoot you while you're on this bridge. The first time you're playing the game, you don't know that that can happen, right? You're just playing, he jumps in the Banshee and flies around. Second, third time playing mission, you might not know that, you know, you have enough time to kill him. Fourth time, however, you might start to experiment. Oh, can I get that Banshee? Can I get it? If I kill him quick enough, can I get it? If I just, you know, try different ways to get him, or maybe knock the Banshee away from him, or stun him with a hit, can I jump in it? And lo and behold, you can. And that really rewards creativity, because you skip another couple of rooms, you don't have to fight your way up the actual like control room. You can just fly to the end of the level, land, kill the last set of enemies, and you're there. That really rewarded thinking outside the box and lent into the sandbox feel of CE. Honestly, it encapsulates everything that made Halo great. In Campaign Evolved, not only is the land bridge gone, they've replaced it with a Forerunner metal bridge, they've put 2 Banshees on it, they've made them easier to grab, and Cortana is in your ear telling you to grab them. I don't like that, because it restricts kind of that sandbox feel and experimentation on the player's behalf. It really takes out the reward as well of experimenting to see whether you can take it and successfully taking it. It kind of, I'm going to use this term again in a minute, AAA-ifies the game in the fact that it is holding your hand a bit too much in that regard. Yeah, and also it means that there's 2 rooms at the end of this bridge that no one is ever going to see. No one is ever going to choose to go down and walk unless they want to like mix it up. Now, this isn't a weird gatekeepy thing. I'd happily tell a new player to go for the Banshee. The game telling you to do it really restricts creativity, and I wonder how many more instances there are going to be where something in CE really would have been quite subtle and understated, something you can do and made you feel great for thinking about it, is now just a thing that they've baked into the game and tell you to do. I'm sure they make up for it in other areas, maybe with the extra skulls they're adding, but they should have really left it down to the player to discover this. That is the biggest L, so to speak, that I've seen. Another problem I have with this section is the bridge itself. It's quite chunky. It's very close to like the actual control room center, and it makes this part feel a bit more claustrophobic and looks way busier than it needs to be. The little land bridge in the first one kind of just blended into the environment, and as you see this like giant forerunner structure jutting out of this cliff, but the new metal bridge just makes this structure look way too busy, especially because you're going to be flying around in a Banshee and it's going to be eye level. So design wise, I think they've really taken a hit there as well. One positive about it though is that they have at least designed this new encounter around the Banshee, so it becomes much more of a flying vehicle section with more enemies on the approach to it. You know, you got the Wraith down below that was in the original and the Ghosts and a Banshee flying around. So it shows that, yes, they've held your hand to grab the Banshee, but they've also accounted for it. And maybe they're using it as a way to, you know, add a Banshee section that wasn't really in the game that early. Because I think the first real good Banshee section you get isn't until the, like, third to last mission in 2 Betrayals. So there is one upside to it. This is like a personal con, and I think a con for returning players. I don't think this is going to be much of an issue for new players. On the twin bridges, you could jump on the glass and skip it, right? They've taken the glass out and made the bridges further apart, so you can't skip it. You have to run through this every time. Now, I kind of get that because obviously they're developing the game, they're spending time on it, they want you to run through it, but that little skip was, as a returning player, a lifeline. It felt good knowing it was there. It was nice just, you know, skipping those 2 rooms after having done it 100 times, and it really leans into what I was talking about when I was saying CE was a massive sandbox. It let you just skip it. It was there, it let you skip it, you felt good for discovering it. They've completely taken this option out now. There's not really much I can talk about it or say about it that will, you know, it is what it is. The more I talk about it, the more pretentious I'm going to sound about it, because it was like a 2-minute skip, but it's not there. It kind of sucks. Whether it was intentional or developer oversight, I don't know, and that was really something that I kind of bummed me out watching. And I think the last and most major con is they have a lot of AAA Western hand holding, where the game is telling you what to do and where to go at all times. So you immediately walk in and Cortana tells you to follow the arrows on the floor, as if it isn't obvious enough that you should probably follow an arrow on the floor. I think this is going to be a thing throughout the entire game. I don't think the game will let you just... I think I just saw some lightning. Interesting. I don't think the game will let you really just mess around. I wouldn't be surprised if you're like fucking around in a room just trying to do something and then Cortana's in your ear telling you to just go and move. There is I think going to be a sprinkle of that, which I think again detracts from Halo. Now CE, I'm not saying it's perfect in the way that it like guided you through levels. If you first time playing it, you could get lost a bit too easily, you know, but there's ways to work around it. For example, the twin bridges with the little signposts. You know which way you're facing. You know you're going the right way. Just add more environmental cues rather than adding them and then not really using them because you're telling me where to go anyway. I'm not going to be looking at that. I'm just going to be looking at a waypoint if I'm a new player. Those were the major cons I had with the game. I think moving on, yesterday we also got a reveal of skulls and something they're calling campaign remix, I believe. This is interesting. This is very interesting. This is going to add a lot of replayability to the game, especially for returning players. Like, for example, I myself probably have like a few hundred hours in the MCC just playing the campaign alone. So it's going to be interesting to remix the game. Oh, I want to talk about that a little bit first. So there's 42 skulls. So there's a bunch of new skulls. There's 3 in each mission. I believe that means for the new Sergeant Johnson missions as well. So some of the new skulls we've seen genuinely are fucking brilliant additions. 2 notable ones are the third person perspective, which is very cool. I've wanted a skull that does that for years now, just to see Halo in a new light, play it a bit differently, you know. And the second skull is called The Floor is Lava, which obviously while you're on the floor it damages you. So those 2 additions that I've seen are great. Also, if you're pretty miffed about, you know, the magazine size on the AR, or like the fact you can sprint, or some of the newer additions to the gameplay, they've added skulls that will retroactively make the gameplay more like CE. So there's a skull that, for example, turns off sprint. There's a skull that also gives you a 60 round mag on the AR. I need to rewatch the video, but I'm hoping there's a skull that brings back the glory to the Halo 1 Magnum, where you can like one-shot hunters in the back. Really just play like a prettier version of CE. Now, the new game mode, I'm going to call it game mode, is campaign remixed, and this is the important one. I believe what it does is you boot it up and it gives you a random assortment of skulls to play the game with. So whether that be a skull that can completely change enemy encounters, I believe that's a new skull, can change how the game looks, how the game plays, you know, the difficulty of it, whether you got a HUD or not, whether like catch is on. Really just mix it up, fuck around with the gameplay. I believe I've seen some gameplay where the flood is in like missions they shouldn't be in, so maybe you can play the whole game completely just fighting the flood if that's something you want to do. That sounds cool. If you just make it like a zombie mode of the campaign, you can really just get into the bare bones of it and customize it. And I think for returning players, that is going to be a massive draw. I know for me that's probably where I'm going to end up spending most of my time, because Jesus Christ, like, that is a genius idea. They should really implement that into the other games. Maybe retroactively add a mode on MCC, because that's just going to breathe a new life into the campaign over and over and over again. I can see challenge runs happening, and I'm excited to play it and make videos on it and see what the game can chuck at me. But the big elephant in the room for a lot of Halo challenge runners is that there's 42 skulls, which means lasso. Is it possible? Who's going to be the first one to do it? And how fucking hard is it going to be? Now, I'm sure there's some skulls that won't be active, like the you know, the one where you can fly around, like ones that change the visuals of the game. There'll probably be a community driven, these skulls have to be on, do what you will, you know. But I'm curious to see how the lasso for this develops. I've never done a lasso. Maybe I'll make this my first one. It has potential to be the hardest one, or it has potential to be an easy one, depending on the skulls. We have to wait and see. But I think that is my main just unconstructed, rambly ADHD thoughts on Halo moving forward. and I'm really excited for it. Genuinely, there are some flaws, some like stuff that is left to be desired, but as like a little love letter to CE, for me, yeah, it works. I'm sold. It works for me. That's fine. There's some things I wish were different, but they're not. But there's nothing like game breaking for me. If you're returning, for example, you can turn off hit markers. If they're not for you, I'm probably going to turn off hit markers. But overall, it's looking like a solid, I don't know, 7, 8 out of 10, really depending on the Sergeant Johnson missions and the remix. See the new stuff that they're bringing to the table. If the new stuff is good, then I think it bodes well, and it makes me excited for once for the future of Halo. And I hope, swear to God, that it does not release as a buggy mess and they don't fuck it up. Do not fuck it up. That's all I really want to say. That's my thoughts on it, at least. Sorry for being very incoherent, but I wanted to try do something a bit more relaxed. And this is probably the first video you can see on the channel, but there were other videos I made that were scripted, but I'm really just going to try do what I can and see what sticks. So if you like this type of rambly video, which I don't know why you would, drop a like, drop a comment, please subscribe, please. I need to feed my children. I am intending to release a Dark Souls video soon that is going to be scripted, and I've got a big project in the works for The Witcher 3 because of the new DLC that got announced. So I'm really going to just chuck any content I can at the fucking wall and see what sticks. Thanks for watching and sticking around if you got this far. I'm very surprised if you did. But yeah, I look forward to next month. I look forward to releasing another video, and I look forward to showing up at your house tonight if you don't like and subscribe.